We did our trainings like this, we started asking folks, hey, if you would be interested in helping us to create our decorations, to let us know. We had a couple last year, and then we have a meeting in November in Jeff City, kind of our kickoff for the associations and different ones, and had 3 different people come up at that and tell me, hey, we'd be glad. So we actually had 5 different churches that helped create our 5 set designs, which makes it a lot easier on everybody than having 1 or 2 people. It used to be Christy and her husband Lynn used to do all of them by themselves, and that I know, having just done a single set for the last 4 or 5 years, that's a big undertaking. So we kind of so if that is something. So, want to kind of go through. I'm going to start back over on this side. This is our Tidal Pool Crafts area, Laclede Baptist Church, up a little bit west of Macon. Joe Wright's the pastor. His wife Brandy was the one that volunteered, and then the family kind of got together and worked on it as a family project, and did our Tidal Pool Crafts. Our bonfire missions is next here. Christy actually did this by herself, with the canoe and the bonfire. All of this is foamed out. It all could be done with cardboard. One of the things that, before I got into using foam, and I found Ace Hardware is the place that has them now. They have gotten it, and even for other Bible schools, if you are looking for a way to make a backdrop for Answers in Genesis, to paint a river with jungles on both sides and pythons hanging out of the trees and all, Ace Hardware, if you got those around, have a 9x12 paper cloth drop cloth that has plastic on one side, paper on the other. It's a single piece, 9x12. Makes great canvas for doing painting backdrops. Put it up, hang it on the wall, project onto it, and then go in and paint it. Whereas on the foam, you do the same thing, and then you cut it out and then paint it. This, you just paint it straight to the. Like I say, it's just 9x12 paper drop cloth. Ace Hardware, $4.99. is the price on them, so very economical for doing, especially a large backdrop. And then basically we use just regular. In fact, for paints, I like to check out between Menards is where I like to shop. Home Depot, Lowe's, basically I've got all 3 of them within about 3 minutes of my house. And the church, which is very dangerous, because anytime I need something, it's nothing to drop what I'm doing. But check their mismatch or their mismakes. Almost all of them have a shelf that basically somebody came in and ordered a color, and either the guy putting the pigments in put the wrong amount. It's not the color they want, and they basically put it on the shelf, sell it for 25% of the, a lot of times you get a gallon for $5. So if you're looking at painting backdrops, that's a good way to, colors that that you're going to do less amounts. They have samples for like $4.99, and I, if it's a color that I know I'm not going to use much of, I will use those. Acrylics you can use, you get kind of expensive if you've got big amounts of acrylic. If you've got just small little areas, you can use acrylics. Basically, household paint is what I normally just, and normally I use an eggshell. It's about the cheapest, and it's not really necessary to have the gloss or semi-gloss or anything. So that is our bonfire missions. Over here on the end is our Orca music. This was a kind of a joint effort. Jen and Christy and I wouldn't have thought of her last name, is at First Baptist Ferguson, a new children's ministry took over for Ruth that had been here for a long time. Had said she would volunteer to help paint one, and about 3 weeks before we were ready to start, she texted me, said, Mark, she said, I'm having to have surgery, not gonna be able to get that done. So we made some alternate, and I'll get to part of that, but, so we got the orca coming out of the water, as well as the one. So the orca that's standing up in the waves on the far side was made by the same gentleman that made our Bible study here, Phil Romero, that's at Aurora Springs Baptist Church in Eldon. Phil is your classic overachiever as far as decorations.
Amen.
Study, St. Home Bible study. Had all these pieces put together. And he said, hey, he said, if there's something else I can do, let me know. And I said, well, actually, I've heard from one of our other leaders that's going to make some that she's not going to be able to. Do you have enough foam that you can make the orca coming out of the water for our music? And he says, yeah. He says, I do. He says, let me go ahead. And so that was on Tuesday. He did that. Thursday, he sent me pictures of that done. Our worship rally at Breaker Rock Beach. This was done by my wife and I like to say I'm a good put the paint and the color down, and then my wife comes back and adds everything that makes it actually look like it's supposed to. So I do a lot of the base coating, and then she comes back, adds highlights and details, and it makes it look good. This is actually just part of the worship rally set. There's 2 more panels and another grove of trees over here. Not many churches have a big enough area to be able to put that all up there. So we take and we just cut it down and made it a little more manageable. As far as anybody not familiar with have made decorations using foam like this before, as far as cutting, okay, I can say that, I've gone a couple years ago, when I first started, well, I guess 10 years ago was probably the first time I used it. In fact, anybody else did Weird Animals group Bible school? Anybody? Okay, well, that was the first one that we did, and I guess we don't have any group people here. Kyle, you don't even remember that one. But that was the first one and used a hot knife, which is a blade about this long, about 1 inch wide, and maybe 1/8 inch thick. And you just use it to cut your foam. Not the easiest thing in the world. Now I've gone actually to using a jigsaw, electric jigsaw, cuts much cleaner. If you are cutting foam like this, we encourage you. One of the things that one of the pastors at one of our trainings last year told me about and I've been doing is once you get it cut, take a heat gun on low setting and go back and go over it. Basically, it almost hardens, it seals the edge. If not, it stays kind of brittle. If it's a little just not exactly how you can sand once it gets hardened, you can sand it a little bit more. Any questions you have on decorations